you've recently done a sort of a documentary. Did you want to just sort of tell us about that and how that sort of came to pass? And
Yeah,
you know,
sure. Well, wow. First of all, I mean, it was the documentary was called "Tackling Racism." It was by
yeah,
Mike Richards, and that was something that Sky Sports put together. Well, sorry, not Sky Sports. That was Sky Documentary. So
yeah,
it's one of the Sky channels. We were approached by Kick It Out to say we'd like you and your father. We know the work you do. Obviously, we work closely with them, but we want to give an account of some of the good work that's been just done within football,
yeah.
but from a fan's point of view. Um, and we were like, we weren't going to say no then. So we thought, yeah, okay, we'll do it. Yeah, great, we'll do it. Didn't know, we at the time, we didn't know who else was going to be involved, but we were told Gary Neville was going to be involved
Okay.
as well. So we only knew about Michael Richards and Gary Neville being involved. They kept all that detail away from us. And it was almost like, so we initially had a chat with the producers over a Zoom call. Then they told us that, they asked us quite a few questions really and what our thoughts were. And then they invited, then I think closer to the time when they did the filming, they said, "Are you available to do the filming?" And then we just liaised with the club and they allowed it to happen. So we was able to then, you know what, it was weird because we haven't been to St Andrews for so long. So it was just such a nice opportunity
I was going to say, it must have been a
go
good
in
feeling.
and got to walk in and it's like, it was just something. And it was empty. So it was just literally Michael Richards, my dad, me walking through. We were walking into the ground, and then we sat in the cop where the executives sit, where where the club class area is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were just there, and it felt good to be there. And it was a bit of a distraction. So it was weird because we were being interviewed, but we were just taking it in that, oh, we're back. It's weird that, through this opportunity, we were able to come back to the ground. And then we spent, so we had, it was very, I mean, what you see with Michael Richards on TV is what you get.
Yeah.
He was very open, very honest. And I don't know, I mean, our segment on the documentary was 3.5 minutes. We actually spent about 5.5 hours with him filming. So we spent a lot of time talking about a lot of issues, probably some of the stuff that you want to talk about later today.
Yeah.
And he asked quite a few, like how we formed and our views on various things and maybe possible solutions and if we gave guidance and things like that. And so it was good. And then we had a bite to eat. I think people that have seen the documentary then can say we went to our local and we just gave him access to our lives and what we do, how we do it, and what we do on a regular basis. When on the assumption that we're back in the ground and we do everything's normal again. And it gave us another massive platform, great exposure. And then I watched the documentary the morning it came out. So that's my first time. I didn't even see any edits or anything. So I weren't sure how it was going to come out because we did speak about a lot of things that didn't get covered. And we didn't know who the other people were. So when you think of, they had Andy Cole, they had Chris Hughton, Paul Elliott, they had quite a few people in there. So I'm just grateful that they thought of us, to be honest. I mean, if you think about it, they could have asked any supporters group. There's loads of groups like us doing good work around the country for their respective clubs, and then they asked us. So very grateful for that opportunity. And hopefully we did have, the feedback we got from our own fans and just the football in general was brilliant. My phone didn't stop for probably a couple of weeks after, constantly. And people who then saw the documentary later got in touch and said, what brilliant work. And so as long as, whatever we do, we represent Birmingham City Football Club. We don't work for Birmingham City Football Club. We are passionate, real, genuine fans, season ticket holders, that just like to go, like to see our little group of, that we normally see in our get together. So that's that's the documentary in itself. So we didn't anticipate how big that was going to be, and then obviously then the promo and everything that Sky put behind it and everything, and it was just massive.
So I mean, on that, again, probably a good time to sort of talk about. I think racism. Well, it's not necessarily racism in the game. I think for me, the biggest challenge that I don't know. I don't think it's not just football. It's just in general, and I think
Yeah.
it's very much around social media
Of course, yeah,
and
definitely.
and people that are anonymous that get brave and just they're just absolute the lowest of the low. I mean, again, I mean, from the work that you do, it does nothing for the stereotype, does it?
Nah,
I mean, because all you hear is, and rightly so, he should have profile,
yeah,
but it's sort of, I said it on the last pod. These people are ironically, they're a minority now.
yeah, they are, they are.
Yeah.
And it's how do we? Yeah, it'd be good to get your thoughts. How do we change it? How can we, as a not just Blues, but let's look after number one. Let's.
Yeah,
And I have to say, at Birmingham,
yeah,
I've never ever heard any racism at all at Blues. I haven't. I'm not saying it doesn't exist, because there's always an element.
there is. There's an element there, but I'll give you an example. I mean, I was speaking to one of the diversity group members, and I was saying to them, at Birmingham City, it's not cool to be racist.
No.
Nothing cool about it. You're gonna get shot down straight away.
Yeah.
I don't mean literally, but people
You're
will.
probably going to get filled in.
Yeah, you're.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with it at Blues.
No.
You know, if you've got any kind of racist sort of intentions or motivated in that sense to do something or say something, you're not going to get away with it. And it's not. When I say something, obviously it's not a cool thing at all, but you're at the wrong club. You know, if you think you're gonna come into a game, sit next to fans and supporters and say what you want, unfiltered, it's not going to happen.
No.
And if it does happen, stewards, the fan base, forget stewards, the fan base would sort it out between them. You know, we sort it out amongst us. And that's the thing where at Blues, especially our city, Birmingham, we're lucky in that we've got that. I mean, now look at Jude Bellingham at Blues. You know, everyone loves him.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's had any of this kind of exposure, this negative, these messages and everything that he's had. And then look what's happened. Like, he's played for England, he's playing Champions League football, and he's getting some disgusting messages on social media directed at him, his colour, his mom, and it's disgusting. And he's not the only one. Other players are getting it, and it's almost like you're feeling it's like there's always going to be that we stand by or we stand with, you know, that message that we support them.
Yeah.
I think personally, like legislation, it's not tough enough, because now I'll give you I'm just going to give you an example. So Thomas, right? Let's just say I live next to you. Or actually, I live next to you, and you come to my house and you put some hate mail, actually literally through the door, and I've got CCTV. It catches you. I report you to the police. Police are going to sort it out. You know, you're probably going to get a caution. You're going to get told off. They treat it as a crime. But what's the difference between you doing that, but then you posting something about me on social media and saying the same message? Right? It's the same. It's the same. But the penalties, the punishment isn't. So, and the other thing is, it's like, I've got proof that you just posted it. The social media companies, they're going to say, oh, you know, people can use. It's like they can give someone a temporary ban on social media.
Yeah.
Set up another account from somewhere else in someone else's name. So how do you regulate that? Then you're going to
I
look
think there
at.
needs to be a verification process for stuff like that.
I'm glad you said it, because I think people talk about free speech, but then there's the hate messages, and that, which then you can say it's a hate crime, and you know, it's just not acceptable. You know, we don't accept it in society, we don't accept it in the workplace, we don't accept it in schools. I think, like with my own kids, my kids don't see different people. They just got their friends. You know, they're growing up and they've got friends from their classroom.
Yeah.
So, you know, if I try and sit there with my little kids and try and talk to them what race, they won't even know what it means, because they've got their friends. They've got their friend who's black. They've got their friend who's white. They've got a friend who's Chinese. You know, they go to a school and they're just friends with people. That's it. That's all it is. So, you know, the utopia is the younger generation will improve things and it'll get better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the utopia is we get to that point where when they get older, it's sort of it's never gonna, you know what, it's never gonna go away, but it's just how we respond to it. And I think legislation definitely needs to change. There's got to be punishments involved, and technology, the technology firms and stuff, the social media giants, they need to look at their algorithms and things like that as well.
Yeah.
Like now, you guys, I mean, you're on social media, you got a massive following. If you see something straight away, someone puts a stupid comment, you're going to take it down straight away. You're not going to mess about.
Yeah.
You're not going to allow that on your platform. And likewise, we see messages and stuff. I mean, look, we're in a good position that we never have to really, we don't get many. I think when we won the award, we got a few bad comments and stuff. But it's like two bad comments compared to probably like 1,000 comments that you got from from good people wishing you well. So you can't let it win. But I think at the same time, education. You know what? You're going to hear that word a lot when it comes to racism, because I've met I say friends. I know people. I know people that have been on marches and things like that in their younger days.
It wasn't that long ago. Blues did a march against racism.
Yeah. So I know people I know people who've been on other marches where you've got links to sort of right wing groups and things like that, and they've changed their perception of everything. They've been how do you call it? They've like rehabilitated in a sense. They've opened their eyes. They've learned that what they were doing was wrong. So you've got to, if you're talking about education, you have to give people the opportunity to be able to change.
Yeah.
As well. So, and I know people who, I won't mention names or anything like that, but I do know, I know people who've, they had their links in the past, but they've changed. They end up doing good work with community groups now and various things now, and they've moved on. So they've changed. They've seen the error of their ways and they've changed. So you have to have that belief and can't give up that hope. So it's easy to say, oh, it's never going to go away. It's not going to, but what we can do is still be the best that we can be, and just make sure the younger generation, our children, when they get bigger, they can completely just kill it off. Like they have their friends and they don't really, they might not even know why are people being looked at differently, why are people treated differently. So but I think if I can answer your question, I would say it's definitely, we've got to carry on. We can't stop it. There's momentum, so we have to keep doing things. We have to be proactive. And it's something I remember what Gary Neville also said as well. He said, and I've been in that situation myself when at workplace, companies and stuff, not at Blues, but I've been out on a night out with works colleagues and someone said something, they've made a racist remark. And then your friends or the people you're with, they'll say to you, and Gary Neville said the same thing. He said about one of the players, about Raheem Sterling, when he had some remarks and he was in a bad place and he was talking, and he would like, just get on with it, don't worry about it, focus on your football, da 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 da. And in real life example for myself, I've had people say things to me. I've been with my workmates, and then my workmates say, "Oh, don't worry about it." That's so.
Yeah.
It's everybody just needs to be aware. If you're aware of it, you've got that empathy as well with it. So be aware that it's not just a simple solution to say to someone, don't worry about it, it's nothing, because the person that the victim who's felt it, they're feeling the hurt from it.
Yeah.
So what tends to happen as well now, your friends feel it too, because their mates their mates been abused. Whether it's a homophobic comment, whether it's a racist comment, a hate crime, your mate, right? If someone's upset your mate, and that's all it should be, really. That you feel it then because your mate has been. So that's just on that level. I mean, it's probably not going to go into too much detail, but I think people just need to be aware that it's there, it exists, and there's people who would always then say to you, "Oh, we're all equal. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It's nothing. It's nothing." But then you need to open your eyes a little bit and see what's going on and how other people are impacted by it. So.
Yeah,
100%. I think two big points for me personally that frustrate me most about the whole situation. is definitely, I'd say the first thing was that it's certainly a minority, but it's a minority that isn't going to go away for a long time, but it will be,
Yeah.
made smaller by, taking action against it, like you guys are, and plenty of other people are, and just raising awareness and stuff. But the other thing that saddens me sometimes is the people who aren't part of that minority and would never think about being racist, live in that kind of
Yeah.
constant fear or worry because say you wanted to say something, but you weren't sure whether it was the right thing to say. And it might be completely fine, but they kind of live in that fear of, can I say that? Sort of thing.
Mm.
And I think there needs to be help for people in a sense that need to understand a correct way of addressing things or speaking about things, because I do think a lot of people in the current generation worry whether something is okay to say, and it might not be kind of racist or anything at all. It might not even be
But they
anywhere
want
near that.
clarification.
Exactly. And
They'd want clarification. Yeah.
yeah, there's definitely
But
needs to be that more kind of extra clarification, and just
there's,
it's a shame to
there's a lot
see
of
people who
people,
worry. Mm,
people like Michael Johnson, ex-Blues defender. You know, he's a very good speaker, a very good advocate. Um, he would say, you know, he'd be the first to say something like, "It's the awkward conversations that we're all having." You know, so if it feels awkward, have the conversations. Don't worry about it. You know, there shouldn't be the repercussions of having the conversations. If anything, it will enlighten people. It'll educate them.
yeah,
And it's good that then sometimes you talk to your friends and you talk to your network and how can I make a difference as well? What can I do? How can I be an ally? And if anything, it's the more allies you have, that's the best thing. It's the integration part as well. There's typically, you know, there's that generation gap as well. So, you know, you touch upon generation. We're hoping the next generation will improve and get better. Generations probably from my dad's era, some of them probably not as flexible with their thoughts and their thinking, but in time, you can change your views. I mean, sometimes people's kids can say, "Dad, you can't say that," or you can't, you know, just,
yeah.
you know, it's the tongue. It's because it's a generation thing. So you have to be aware that these things are here, but talking about it isn't a bad thing. So it's just a case of making sure you have those conversations. And it is an awkward conversation. You know what? It's an awkward conversation. How do you say to someone like, someone says that, is that offensive? Or is that, you know, am I allowed to say that? Am I allowed to say colored? Or am I allowed, you know,
Yeah,
these are the kind of conversations that people are having now in the workplace as well. But the thing is, I mean, John, you was talking about like this is a bigger scale. You say this is a
Yeah.
society issue, but the thing that football plays is the one thing that the football has is that it's got the power, massive power to unite people, and
exactly.
that's why it'll bring people together, and that's why it creates a powerful movement. So you know, for example, when players come out publicly that this has happened, it's when then you get the backlash from people to say this ain't on, this isn't
Mm.
acceptable. So you know you can't stop. It's at a place where it's going to be there's going to be a lot of pressure, especially I mean from a social media point of view. There's going to be a lot of pressure, a lot more pressure on those companies now,
Yeah.
because if they start losing superstars on their social media platforms that are generating income for
Yeah.
them, then that's going to hurt them. That's going to hurt their pockets. So I mean, it's sad that it's a financial thing, but they're going to
Yeah.
be hurt financially, and they're going to have to then respond and do something. And then when you change legislation, if you can make the punishment more tougher, if you can improve the technology, so and you know you're saying maybe limit it. I mean, I've heard discussions about passports being used and ID being used to log in an account, and I'm not sure how feasible that is in this stage of where we are in terms of technology and everything. But I don't know how you regulate that, but it's you know, I don't have a magic wand.
No,
But
to be honest, I think it'd be difficult for the likes of Twitter. Tends to be probably the most, that
Oh, it's evil on its day.
yeah,
It is
horrific.
oh yeah,
evil.
I mean, and they're probably too far the other way. But there's
mm,
nothing to stop a new social media platform where it's basically to get an account, you're effectively like taking out a loan. So you have to go through all of the checks. Your address has to be verified. Everything's got to be absolutely nailed down, because then I can guarantee you
they're not gonna.
that if that was the case, you wouldn't get that person that abused Jude Bellingham. You wouldn't get that lad who went to court for abusing Ian Wright and got basically nothing. And it's like, I don't understand. Apart from, you're right, apart from the financial implications of going through this new sort of onboarding process, for want of a better phrase, why wouldn't you do it? Why wouldn't you do it? Because it's in, like you said, in society, if anybody directly racially abuses anybody, then they're seriously in the shit now, and rightly so. So there's only the bastion of everything racial, if you want to be that way, is social media. So we've got to clean that up, because then you take the voice away, everything changes. And I think I said on the pod the other week, when the lad from Rangers, Kamara, got abused in the Europa League. And what Scott Brown did, I mean, bearing in mind, Rangers are just about to, well, they've won the league at, they're at Celtic Park, and the skipper of Celtic goes over to, I mean, that for me, it just speaks volumes about
Scott
where
Brown
we're
is
at.
Mr. Celtic as well, so
Oh God, I mean, you never ever would think that would happen, but so I think you're right. There is this momentum. There feels like there's this motivation for everybody to really drive this home.
Just becoming an ally, making sure you look after your mate, and and the support's there. I mean, I wouldn't, if I'm on a night out and I'm, for example, I'm with one of my female colleagues and someone says something, I'm not going to let anything happen to her. I'm not going to let anything happen to my friends, and I don't think you will, Tom, or you, John.
No.
So I think it's just a case of you just make sure you stand up. Yeah, you just stand up against it, and don't be afraid. If you're not sure, don't be afraid. Talk to people. I mean, talk to people like us. Talk to people. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. Talk to your people. Will appreciate it a lot more. That you're having an open conversation and say, yeah, well, this is what's said. I mean, there was a lot of things that I talked about that didn't get included in the documentary. All the things I've experienced or what I've witnessed at football.
Yeah.
So that didn't get covered, but it hasn't stopped me. It hasn't stopped me, and I still come to games. I still watch football. I'm still encouraging other people to come and enjoy it. Yeah. So I'm not gonna let ignorant people, small-minded people with a few comments here and there, because it's just a minority. So I'm not gonna let it beat me, and I don't want players either to sort of. But we need to help. We just need to make sure we support them, and that we listen to them as well, because you just don't want to dismiss it like someone on, and it's quite common. There's sometimes you see on, so I mean, Tom, you're active on social media, so you might see where people put some negative posts and so on and tweets and things. Oh, not this again, or oh yeah, da 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 da. And I mean, I'll give you an example. When the club, if the club puts a announcement, I don't mean like a celebration, like we got Christmas, we got St. George's Day, where we've got Easter, we've got some Sikh festivals, Hindu festivals, Islamic festivals, and it's Eid or Ramadan. The minute you get ones that are ethnic minority, you see some stupid comments, you see some stupid faces, and so it's always going to be a minority. I mean, you get loads of good, nice messages and nice comments, and but what do we do about those people? What do we do? I mean, someone puts an angry face, and then you get someone calling them out. Why the angry face?
Yeah.
What? And then you see sometimes you look at the discussion.
How does that post affect them? That's always been my thought. Like, why does that post affect you personally? Because that post about someone else's religion and celebrating it, I don't understand how someone could be offended by celebrating something like that. It's kind of like, you don't need to take any notice of that. You don't need to. So why post the hate to it in the?
Do you see it yourselves? Have you seen it yourselves?
Like, I don't see it on Blues Twitter so much, but I've seen it on other kind of.
Maybe I'd see more on the Facebook pages. So on
The
Blues
Facebook
Facebook, so
pages
when
can
they
be a
post
bit
something,
dodgy
yeah.
sometimes.
So it's just I'm proud that my club posts those tweets out because we've got we've got fans from different backgrounds and different communities, and then they appreciate that. Yeah, my club has sent me a happy Basaki message or Eid Mubarak message or something.
I find that educational because I think, not gonna lie to you, some of the celebration tweets they've posted, I didn't know these were a thing. Like, it's
a few times I've had to comment as well. Like I put a bit in to say, but you see other people put comments in as well. Other fans, they'll just say, "Thanks, Blues. This is what it is." So they'll respond to some of the comments and stuff. But we're getting better. But I mean, more and more clubs now are doing that. You see, so they're celebrating other faith festivals too, and long may it continue. It's good.
Yeah,
I mean,
and I think it's ironic, really, isn't it, that being whether it's a Blues fan or a football fan, but if we just focus on Blues, it is a religion. Everything whatever religion you subscribe to, it's every facet, every single facet of a religion is supporting a football club, and it overarches everything else. Because, and I think, for me, I'd much rather have a pack to the rafters Blues crowd every single game. We're talking about, how many fans do we get in? Yeah. I want as many people in and building that atmosphere,
And I think hopefully we'll get to a point where when you go in City Centre Bullring, or when you just liaise with different groups and people or schools and things like that, you can say to them, "Oh yeah, what's your name? Blah blah blah. Have you been to the Blues? Have you ever been to the?" And then, yeah, I went with my mum and dad, or I did. And that's where the club want to be. They want to be in that situation where we own that monopoly as well, because we've got other clubs with a lot of money, like obviously that team down the road. You've got that team in West Brom, and trust me, they are trying to tap into our territory, because when I'm reaching out to them, they're getting invitations now as well. So it's not just our academy players and things like that. It's actually our potential fan base.
Yeah.
So so there's people that I've brought to St Andrews, like as a group. We've had people visit St Andrews, and then they said, "Oh yeah, we also got an invite for Villa, but none of us really like them, so we're just so we didn't go." But they are working, so it's the neighbourhood is getting bigger in that sense, and they are trying to, as a club, those guys are trying to tap into our territory, and I'm not going to let that happen.
Well, no, I mean,
love it.